What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Crypto for You. Today, I want to talk about Bitcoin, the Bitcoin halving Fibonacci framework that I have created. And I believe that this could be the key to knowing exactly when the all-time high could occur, because this is really interesting. Bitcoin, as you know, is at $102,000, and a lot of people are waiting for the next rise up to 130, 150, and even $200,000. But the real question that people are asking is, when should they take their money out? When should they dump their bags, take their profits, and make sure not to miss the all-time high? And this is exactly what I want to answer in this video, because I have found a really interesting pattern that I want to share with you guys that could show us exactly when the all-time high could occur. And that is this Bitcoin Fibonacci halving framework that I have set up for you guys. This is how it works. If you go back in time, let's go back to 2017, one of the biggest rally. I mean, they got Bitcoin out there. It used to be out $700, and then Bitcoin went all the way up to $20,000. This is the big thing. It caused Bitcoin to become popular. This is actually when I first heard about Bitcoin, this cycle right over here. I realized the profits. I was 11 at the time. But anyway, listen to this. What I have found is that if you take Bitcoin cycle, and as we know, Bitcoin always has 4-year cycles, and those are the halving cycles. Every single time Bitcoin has a halving reward, it always repeats this same exact sequence of events, and that goes exactly like this. If we start from the halving, we first have a correction, and this correction, it ranges really differently. Percentage-wise, but day-wise, we make sure to come up and we break the previous high within 170 days. That's what happened over here. When we were 170 days into this new halving, we finally broke this previous high. And once we did, this is the start of this big rally. But here's what's interesting. First of all, when we broke this high, we went from $700 all the way up to $1,000. That is pretty big. Of course, it doesn't look that big because we're on a logarithmic chart, but here, if I just turn off the logarithmic chart real quick, this was a pretty big gain. Look at this right over here. This was a really big gain that Bitcoin did. And the thing is that after 170 days, we went to such new all-time highs. But here's what is really interesting. Once Bitcoin reached $1,300 right over here, we had this correction, which doesn't seem that big compared to the pump, but you got to understand that this correction was 35%. Put yourself in this position. It's 2017, you want to buy yourself a car, you got $10,000 that you want to buy yourself a car with, and you decide, okay, Bitcoin already went from 700 to 1,000. I believe it can go to 2,000, so I can get myself a much better car if I get $20,000. If I buy it now, it has a chance to double. You put your money in exactly on the peak. And then within 20 days, within almost 3 weeks, you lose 35% of that money. You're down to $6,000 from that 10 that you invested. That is nerve-wracking. And a lot of people believed that this was the all-time high, that it was done, we're going into bear market, that this is the end, it's all-time high, it's over. But notice what happened afterwards. Exactly how fast we fell, we recovered. And within 30 days, we were back at $1,300. Those people who couldn't handle the pressure, they sold. They lost money. And those people that decided to stay, they stayed. And look what happened. If I turn on the logarithmic channel once again, at the 0.25, at 25% into the Bitcoin cycle, the first Fibonacci line happens. So what I did, I split the 4-year Bitcoin cycle into different Fibonacci psychological areas, but I have set it up as time percentages. So this is 25% through the cycle, 38.2% through the cycle, 0.5% through the cycle, and of course my favorite, the golden ratio, 61.8% through the cycle. But what's interesting is that most of these areas are really, really special, and something really interesting happens. For example, in 2017, what happened when we reached the 25% mark is we peaked at $3,000. Now think about it. We went from 1,000 to 3,000. It was a 3x return. And now all those people, now it's the all-time high, they say. And what happens is, once again, within 30 days, we crash. And this time we crash even more. We have a 40% correction. Anybody who wanted to buy over here, anybody who bought at the top, you bought in 10,000, you're now down to $6,000 or maybe even 5,500 after all the fees and everything. But notice this. This wasn't the end. Now, this was a good place to take profit. If you bought in at 1,000 and you held all the way to here, you have a 188% profit. That is pretty good. But notice that this wasn't the end. After this major crash at 25%, we had another rally. And the actual all-time high happened almost exactly at the 38.2% level. Now, once again, these are just Fibonacci numbers. You can check it for yourself. I have set this up just plotting from one halving to the other, a Fibonacci number lined up perfectly with the all-time high. And it's not a coincidence. After this all-time high, this is when the bear market started. After the 0.382 level, we started falling down. And we had a bear market. We fell 0.5 level. We bottomed out a little bit. Everybody thought that it was the end, but no. The actual bottom happened almost exactly on the 0.618 level at the golden ratio. So in my opinion, the golden ratio is most likely the best place to buy, almost. Because in reality, it was a couple months after, but this area after the golden ratio is one of the lowest points for Bitcoin in 2017. And after that, the cycle almost sets up itself for repeating again. Because after the 0.618, we have up until the 0.75, this consolidation rising period. This is basically the period where everybody gets shaken off because everybody thinks we're about to go up again. But in reality, we have like this weird wild area. But once again, we reset. Now I'm going to speed through this for the next cycle. What we have is, once again, this is the 2020 cycle. We have Bitcoin halving starts, and we break the previous high and start going up, which is at 13,000 over here. This is the previous high. We break this high at 180 days. Remember, 170, now it's 180. We repeated the same thing. And then, once again, 244 days into the cycle, we had the same exact correction. A 31% correction. Now think about it. Previous all-time high was at 20,000. This was at 40,000. So in everybody's brains, Bitcoin has already reached all-time highs. We have doubled. That's insane for everybody. 2020, I remember this moment. Everybody thought that was all-time high, and then we crashed 30%. Everybody thought that we were about to do the same exact thing that we did right over here. This correction was about to happen. Everybody thought that, oh, another Bitcoin halving, another bear market, and we were going to go up for higher levels at some point. Nobody could have seen what was going to happen. Once again, if you would have looked back in time, 244 days in, we had this huge 30% correction, and then we had a pump up. And notice we reached basically all-time highs, and we stopped pumping at the 25% area, and then we had a huge correction. Look over here. Once again, same thing. 0.25 level, we reached it, huge correction, 39%. But that wasn't the all-time high. It was a good place to take profit. It wasn't the all-time high. Same thing for 2020. 2020 bull run, this really amazing place to take profit, but it wasn't the all-time high. This was at 65,000. We fell down, had a huge correction, which is insane, really nerve-wracking, but the real all-time high happened once again at the 0.382. Once again, amazing place to take profit. You could take profit at 0.25 and not need to worry about these corrections and wondering if the all-time high was going to happen here, here, or here. It happened over here this time. But once again, an amazing place to take profit at the 0.25 line, 25% into the halving. But once again, cycle repeated itself. Actual all-time high happened at 0.382, 38% into the bull run. And then bear market happened. We had crashed, 0.5 hit, we crashed again, consolidation, 0.618, last crash, best place to buy. Once again, between 0.618, 0.75, and then of course reaching the halving level, this is just an area where people got thrown off. I remember this area so well. This was 8 months of sideways action, 212 days where people were debating whether Bitcoin is going to fall back down, it's going to go up, people were getting thrown off, and of course, we ended up going. And once again, now we're back to the 2024 cycle. And it's just insane how well history is repeating. Because now we actually did something interesting. The previous high before the cycle that we always calculate, the 188 days thing, that's a new all-time high. So we're already making new all-time highs for Bitcoin this time. But still, the same thing applies. Previous high, how long did it take us to break it? It took us 200 days. So remember, 2017 halving took us 170 days to break that, make a new high. 2020, it took us 185 days. And now it took us barely 200 days. It's interesting how similar it is, only 10 days off. And now, here's something even more interesting. When this peak happened at 108, we were 243 days in. Remember, 2017, we had that same 35% correction, which looks off right over here, but if I turn off logarithmic, it will be a huge correction. 35% at 1,244 days in. Huge correction right over here, 35% at 244 days into the halving. Once again, 244 days in. But was it the all-time high? Not even close. This consolidation period that we have right here, this is not the end. Everybody knows that. But do they know that the all-time high is going to happen around this area? Around the 0.25 to 0.382 level. Because that's exactly how Bitcoin is repeating itself. So Bitcoin has still a long time to go until it reaches the 0.25. And what I think is going to happen is Bitcoin will continue rallying up, having insane pumps till the 0.25. Then we'll have a period of rest around the 0.25 level. We might have a huge correction, but that's not the end. And Bitcoin is going to keep going up. And I believe that the actual peak will happen at 0.32. Now, does that mean that we should wait and keep our bags until 0.382, which is at October 2025? No, not even close. Because like I said, over here, you have to sit through the nerves of you're watching your money and your earnings. Let's just say you bought in over here at 11,000. Over here, you were making 450%. So that $10,000 that you had turned into 45,000. And then you watch that 45,000 that you could have taken out turn into just 14. And who would keep it through? A lot of people did, but the nerves required to keep it through for 6 months and hope that you go back up to all-time high is just insanely nerve-wracking. And of course, it wasn't even that much more. Instead of 450%, you get 460%. Of course, back in 2020, it was well worth it. And you waited through those small crashes, and it was less time, but bigger crashes. Here was bigger time and pretty big crash. But over here, what I'm saying is that, one, now where Bitcoin is right now, it's not over. This is just consolidation. We could even crash. I don't care. Bitcoin, if it crashes 35%, will just strengthen my point that Bitcoin is just recreating what it did back in the halving, back in the previous cycle. Bitcoin crashing 30% will take us down to 75. Do I think that will happen? Not really, unlikely. But will it change anything I'm saying right now if it does do that? No. Actually, it will strengthen it even more. Because what's going to happen after is Bitcoin is going to 100% go up to new all-time highs until the 0.25, which is at April of 2025. End of March, beginning of April 2025. In my opinion, that's most likely where I'm going to be taking profits, depending, of course, on the price. But time-wise, Bitcoin is recreating exactly what it did last time and the cycle before that. And of course, if you want to stay risk, you want to get some more profit, you can always keep your bags until more of October 2025, which is probably where we could reach some higher levels. But the all-time high is going to occur somewhere, most likely in March, or April 2025, the first peak. We can continue going up, yes. Because of all the real world news that's going on, we can take this hype and we can pump it to the moon. But the most risk-free area to take profit, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion and everybody should do their own research, this is not financial advice, is March or April of 2025. That is most likely the best place to take profit. Now, on the more longer term, for those who missed this pump, price is something that matters. So if you guys think you are too late, which I think you are not too late, in 5 years, Bitcoin could be at 1 million. That is an underestimate. With US government buying into Bitcoin, with everybody buying into Bitcoin, Bitcoin could easily be $1 million with the amount of supply that's getting taken away and the amount of demand that's going up. If Trump's for Bitcoin, if the president's for Bitcoin, if all the countries are now scrambling for Bitcoin, the US government is going to make it its financial reserve. All that crypto is waiting currently, actually, just going to give you guys a little short-term treat. All that Bitcoin's waiting for currently, the reason we're still at 100,000 and not at 150 is because the US president did not say anything about crypto yet. He made a ton of promises. He became president. I think he said one word about crypto. As soon as Trump says something about crypto, some policy, Bitcoin reserve, we're going to be at the moon. But if you believe that this is too much of a risk, remember, after the 0.382 is when that actual bear market starts, and the 0.618 to 0.75 level is the most perfect time to buy. And the 0.618 to the 0.75 level is, let me just pull up the dates, is between September of 2026 to April of 2027. That seems really far out, but actually, that's around a year and a half. So, you guys, that's exactly what's going on. This is amazing how perfect these indicators are. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to click that post notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.